All right, it's my pleasure to welcome you to this week's edition of Standpoint. I am Adetunji Adeteye. So much has happened in the polity in the outgoing week, and we will definitely look at many of the stories that made headlines on the pages of newspapers and that were reported on television and radio stations across Nigeria within the outgoing week. So we'll be looking at most of those stories. But first, let's start with the biggest of the stories, and that is the refusal of the Senate to confirm the appointment of the acting chairman of the EFCC, Ibrahim Magu, for the second time in 3 months. And that is our big story today. That alone made national headlines in the outgoing week, and of course, it generated a lot of controversy. What is new, however, is that the Presidential Advisory Committee, headed by Professor Etse Sage, has thrown its weight behind Ibrahim Magu, and they have advised the president to allow Magu to continue to work as the chairman of the EFCC. The twist to the story, however, is that the Senate is also asking the president to forward the name of a new nominee as chairman of the anti-graft agency. Magu, on his part, is insisting that he would continue to act as the EFCC chairman until he hears otherwise from the presidency. Let's listen to him.
The confirmation has not changed anything. We have, with the Wills on duty, so we will continue to fight corruption. Yes, but it has not changed. I will work until the last day, whether confirmation or no confirmation. Those allegations cannot stand the test of time, because this allegation cannot be proven. You know, you cannot just raise mere allegation and you don't give the chance to person to even answer you. There is the issue of fundamental human right, right of fair hearing.
Yeah, there you have it. The man that is in the eye of the storm and the man that's really making headlines. That's the reaction from Magu shortly after the confirmation session at the Senate on Thursday. Yeah, we'll talk more on that. One can rightly say that it is all about the Senate this week, talking about the appearance of the Comptroller General of Customs at the Hallowed Chamber on Thursday. Magu's own was on Wednesday, actually. Yes, the Comptroller General finally appeared before the Senate, but without the uniform of the Nigeria Customs Service. So the back and forth continues as the Senate insists it must appear again on Wednesday in his official uniform. That is the official uniform of the Customs Service, before they can question him on the new customs policy on automobiles. Many people have said the main issue has been abandoned, and then the uniform issue has taken center stage. Let's also listen to the man's defense. That's Ahmed Ali.
Can you explain to us why you're not in uniform, unless this is the custom uniform?
There's no law, to my knowledge, that compels me as Comptroller General to wear uniform.
Yeah, that's the background, and so those are the highlights of the stories we will be discussing shortly after this break, and then I will introduce my guests to you. Please stay with us. Yes, so much to talk about. So let me quickly introduce my guest to you. I have with me a lawyer, Barrister Olayinka Ola Daniels. It's good to have you here, Barrister. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm sure you have so much to talk about the two big stories we're discussing today.
We are here for the people.
All right. Also, I'm joined by Honorable Muyiwa Jimoh. He's the Deputy Majority Leader. Honorable, thanks for joining us.
Glad to see you.
Welcome. Now, we have two big stories, two big issues, and I know that you've also been following the trend. The stories have been in the Nigerian. They've been making headlines within Nigeria and even outside of Nigeria. But let's start with the Magu, the confirmation. The presidency has been silent on this. What's your take?
Well, we have people in the presidency. Maybe I will say, maybe they are scared of Magu. Seriously, we have the SGF, and we have the Secretary to the government.
Okay.
There were allegations against these people. They are still in the seat of power. These are the people that will not want Magu to what? To scale through. Because what we are seeing, what public is seeing, is the Senate.
Okay. But they represent the people.
They represent the people,
Yeah.
well, to an extent, because we know what they do in the House. The same Dinom Lai that was fighting corruption before he became a senator is the one now fighting against Magu.
But anybody can be accused. You can't just say that because
There
he's
are
been accused.
allegations. If, okay, our Senate president at the moment is in court.
Yeah. I know
Is the Senate president. He's still presiding.
Okay.
We call it an allegation. Is there any fair hearing here? As question being asked, the DSS report of last year were two conflicting reports. The same agency.
But now that's actually what prompted my first question to you. And I asked you, why is the presidency silence?
Well, you
Why
may think,
is the presidency not saying anything about this? They're just silent about it.
No, you may think presidency is silent. I do not agree with that. There are procedures to follow. There are due process in all these things that to be followed. And of course, we will not just get the belt and hang on the presidency neck and say, you must talk.
Okay.
As far as we are concerned, Magu is still in the acting position.
He's still acting, actually.
He's still acting, and if seriously the presidency want, if they're serious, let me put it this way, if Mr. President is serious about the fight against corruption, he will play his game, because the law does not say that I must bring someone else. He has nominated. He has nominated. He has appointed someone. Then is the procedural thing for the Senate is to what, to confirm him. And if they refuse to come, I can renominate the name again.
So left to you, the presidency shouldn't talk. But let me just talk to Honorable Jimoh here. You are a parliamentarian. You are a lawmaker.
Yes.
Now, would you say that the Senate is in order?
For the fact that I'm a lawmaker does not mean I should be justifying whatever the Senate is doing or what they are doing. And I have my argument. Apparently, Magu has not been given the opportunity of fair hearing. Even God, who created us, knows that Adams have eaten from the fruits he instructed him not to eat from. He still asks Adam, why did you eat from the fruits that I instructed you not to eat? And Adam explained that it was the woman that you gave me. That is the fundamentals of fair hearing. And historically and in the contemporary sense, the evolution of even fair hearing in the Human Rights Society could be traced to the Magna Carta of 1515 due to one oppression or the other, that people were not given the opportunity of hearing to explain.
By fair hearing, I'm wondering what you're talking about here. Were you expecting, or would you have expected the DSS to summon Magu first?
It's a simple
before
logic.
He appears
it's a simple logic.
Senate?
It has been alleged.
The Senate definitely has
through the
right.
letter sent to the Senate.
Okay.
He should be given the prerogative to explain himself by DSS.
But he explained himself.
To the DSS? No, that opportunity was not given.
It was the Senate
He was
asked for
explaining
him
to
be
the Senate, even without, from my own point of view, from parliamentarian point of view, the DS, if Magu wants to be disqualified, it doesn't. The Senate doesn't need the report of DSS. On no account, it could be disqualified.
So are you saying
because
that? Okay.
I'm advancing because the Constitution, the law of the land, has given the prerogative to the Senate. It may not be correct.
Okay.
What we are now looking at now is the rationale, the justification for the disqualification of Magu. And that is why I try to lace it with the outcome of the investigation conducted by DSS, that the person concerned were not given the opportunity.
Yeah, they've been talking about integrity, and don't you think that matters a lot? They have been.
How do you justify integrity without calling the person to explain his own side of his story? It's not called for. The Senate, we know what is going on in the Senate. A lot of them have issues.
He also said
of course, I'm a parliamentarian. I'm saying it. Okay. I can't be defending what I'm supposed not to be defending, all in the names that I'm a parliamentarian. If the Senate knows their thought, they should investigate themselves without relying on the reports of the DSS. That's one angle to it.
Okay.
Another angle to it is that what are the issues before the Senate? That an apartment was rented by somebody and somebody gave in the 21st century. That is what we are preoccupying ourselves discussing.
But he who comes into equity must come into with clean hands.
They've not proved that this man did not come with clean hands.
But there are allegations, standing allegations.
Allegation, if it is a matter of allegation, Saraki should not be presiding over the Senate of Federal Republic of Nigeria.
So are you saying...
In fact, 31 of the alleged senators that are there now should not be in the Senate.
Wow.
If it is based on allegations.
Wow, that's a serious one. He just said 31 of them should not be there. But there are other areas to look at, especially the reactions which have trailed the Senate's decision. So many people believe the senators do not want Magu because it's actually been investigating many of them. I don't know if that's right. But we're actually going to look at some of the senators who were at that session who are being investigated by EFCC. So we have the Senate President himself, and about 9 others, except you have, except I'm losing count here.
Well, it's not that.
So are you going to say, let me come to you, Barrister Daniels, are you going to rightly say, or is it right to just say that this is a matter of being witch-hunted, or they just don't want him because he is investigating him? We're investigating the Senate, rather.
You have seen someone that would not dance to your music. No matter how much you play the music, it's not going to dance to your music.
Why you
so
your time?
why will you why will you put such person in your dancing troupe? We are talking about maybe 80%. I may not be right. Maybe 80%. If they know Magu will not say no and he will do his job to investigate them, you know what it means. If 80% of the Senate is going to jail. Now tell me if they will want Magu to come into office. We have said it. Okay, clear, no allegation. DSS didn't even give fair hearing, like as we said. But before Senate, Magu explained the accommodation. He explained the relationship with the other man. He explained. It was after all that. In fact, at that point, the Senate didn't know what to do. More like was a game plan that they had their game that they had already set. They know what they were doing, and they know that at this point, this man was winning the debate. What they had to do was to use Dino to come up with the 14th March 14th report of the DSS to come up to now say, okay. Okay, this is it. There's a problem. No, sorry, I don't want to use that word on air.
The DSS,
it's sad.
Barrister, the DSS is also playing, the DSS has been mentioned in all of this. Yes. They're playing a big role, and they've not said anything after that session. Yeah. Now, I just want to know, is the DSS obligated to give the report of their findings to an individual and not the authority or the person demanding for that findings? For instance, the Senate asked for Magu to be investigated. Do you think it is now right for the Senate to now call Magu and say, oh, this is what we have on you? Because I remember Honorable said it. You said he should be allowed to defend himself before the DSS. But it wasn't the DSS that asked for it.
DSS submitted...
It wasn't the Senate, rather.
DSS submitted a letter, a report to the clerk of the House. The same day, the same report submitted the same report to the Secretary of the government. Now, these are two conflicting reports. How do you justify that? How? Why would Senate then be biased to take one that is implicated, that they think, well, let me say, perceive implication?
I understand, Honorable, I understand that at a point, the Ministry of Justice had conducted its own findings about Magu.
So now, on the instruction of the president.
Of the presidency. So now, that they should...
After the first disqualification.
Yes, that they should go ahead. So now, would you say that the DSS, the findings from the DSS is superior to that of the Ministry of Justice?
No, that shows that there is a problem in the executive arm of the government too. If an arm of government that the parastatals, the two parastatals are under
the federal government.
under the federal government, under the
presidency.
presidency,
Agency of the federal
and they are giving conflicting reports. That shows there's lacuna somewhere. That is one. Two, no matter how you present Magu, this National Assembly that I'm seeing in the Senate will not clear.
I
the-
have said it. If you present
He
Mago
made,
times,
he made that
will be
point.
confirmed.
Even it's not even from Malawi. Malawi is it's Tuizu from the known Senator Shehu Sani
Shehu Sani.
citing Julius Caesar, quoting the same date that what happened to Caesar will eventually
Eventually
happen
happened to
to him. So you can see from that submission of Senator Shehu Sani shows where the direction and where the pendulum will swing.
So what you are saying is that the agenda has been set even before the hearing.
It will, Magu will not pass the exam. There's no
But
way
now
he will pass.
he still remains the acting
Of course,
chairman of the EFCC.
Is the acting.
That is where that is what I said, that if the presidency, if Mr. Don't let me use the word presidency, because we have cankerworms in the presidency. So I'm not going to use the word president. I'll use if Mr. President is sincere with this fight, he will renominate Mago. And it will
And
make
that'll be the third time.
It can,
Doesn't
as
matter.
long the law did not say,
It doesn't matter.
didn't give any specific
But it matters.
period of time.
I think
Now-
it matters because
now-
the Senate stated it clearly after the hearing that the president should forward the name of
They
another.
don't have
Teach
such
the
power.
president's
They
his
don't
job.
have such power.
Their own job
They
is
don't have
limited to
Screening,
confirm.
confirm.
They can't tell president
Affirm,
who to nominate.
disqualify.
But is
They
Magu,
can't.
is Magu the only person that can now carry out this task?
Yes, I'm not also saying it's Magu. I am not of that school of thought that it must be Magu. I'm not that school of thought. I believe that we have over 180 or there about 70 million people in this country. So you can't tell me that the others don't have integrity. You know, yes, I am not of the school of thought that say it must be Magu. But what we are talking about, we know what is happening. The procedures, the fight from the cabals, let me use that word, the presidency cabals that don't want Magu there, you know, in conjunction with some Senate members that don't want him because of what they know him to be. Like we said, even in the so-called allegation, in the so-called report, is integrity was never questioned. Was never questioned.
Talking about integrity, judging by what you said when we started, you said even the senators cannot talk about integrity. So it's not about integrity here. But don't also forget that Magu said that corruption itself is in his agency, that there are people in his agency who are corrupt. Now, judging from the foundation laid by Nuhu Ribadu, then Farida Waziri, then Lamodi, all those people, apart from Ribadu, whom we cannot really tie so much stains to. Now, look at Farida, I'm not sure she successfully challenged any corrupt case to the end. I don't know.
Like Magu. Magu succeeded in...
Magu, you're talking about Magu now. I'm looking at the EFCC as an agency itself. Because if you leave Magu out, now you want to bring someone in, are you saying that this person is clean? Magu has admitted that EFCC is corrupt
Let me
too.
say this for clarity.
And don't forget Lamodi's case.
Let me say this for the benefit of average Nigerians that are watching this program. I'm not here to defend one person or the other.
Because people are beginning to
I
personalize
just felt
it. I
in
need
this
to know
democratic
now.
emergence that we should guide it jealously
Yes.
so that we can get to the peak of human development. And that is why I felt I should also express my view about the reality that is happening. There are so many things that are happening that are not known to Nigerian people. So as far as I'm concerned, Magu in question, he has been trained by the FBI, by the London Metropolitan Police and all that. He has the qualifications that qualifies him to occupy that position. But if the Senate insists that they are not going to screen him, there is nothing average Nigerian can do, because the law of the land gave them the singular prerogative to do that. I'm not saying that section of the law is correct, because at times they can leave merit for mediocres.
It's very easy for me to conclude that both of you have agreed that it's not only Magu that can play that role.
Of course.
Now, but with those allegations, mere allegations, quote and unquote, with these allegations against the DSS, against Magu, what does all this portend for Nigeria's fight against corruption? Can we still trust the EFCC? Now, we still have the ICPC. ICPC does its own work silently, but the EFCC has always been in the eye of all controversies, all court cases and all that. Now, can we still trust, can Nigerians still trust the EFCC?
I'm not
can
here
any
to,
good thing or any big thing come out of EFCC?
I'm not here to defend any anti-graft agency, but we should see it as a mechanism that purifies itself. Over time, we get it right. The matter or the idea or the concept of corruption is not only in Nigeria, it's everywhere in the world. Let me cite this. When Adam Smith was writing his book, An Inquiry into the Nature and the Causes of the Wealth, An Inquiry into the Nature and the Causes of the Wealth of Nature, 1776, one of the things he itemized in the preface of that book was what he felt about the deep corruption that is happening in British society. And up to now, Britain cannot tell me that there is no corruption, but at least they've minimized the level of corruption in their own society. It is now left for us here to also do the same. And you know, there is part of the similarity between we and Britain, and there was that similarity that we shared. However, whether Magu should be, whether the president should represent him or not, it depends on what the president wants.
But that's Olayinka's position.
Well, I don't have issues if it is being represented to the Senate. Okay. But I'm telling you, I don't think he can pass.
He can never pass.
Exam, because
okay, now let's look at some of the
reasons. They've made up their mind what to do and their decision on Magu. But I listened to the view of our brilliant professor, who some of us are product of his intellectual wealth, Professor Isesage. But in totality, I do not agree with Professor Isesage's view. Not because Magu should be represented or that it should be acting in acting capacity. But don't let us forget that there can be a king that will be a tyrant in the land. They may want to use that to his own advantage. And these are the things that we'll be making reference to. That when so person was rejected by the Senate, the person is at the presidency.
I don't know if you saw Magu's disposition at the Senate.
I don't see it.
He was really calm, so respectful, and you'll be surprised that this is the man that is actually trying some of these men seated here. Let's look at some of the people that are on the EFCC radar. First is the Senate President, Bukola Saraki, a former governor of Kwara State who was accused of fraud and money laundering in 2014 and currently has a case of false assets declaration hanging on his head. Also, let's look at Godswill Akpabio, a former governor of Akwa Ibom State. He is being investigated for corruption and was twice invited by the EFCC in 2015 over allegation of 10 billion naira fraud. Also, former governor of Abia State, Theodore Oji, was allegedly linked to the withdrawal of 5.6 billion naira in cash from the state's account in a commercial bank against the regulation of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN. He was arrested and detained by the EFCC. Adamu Alero, former governor of Kebbi State and former FCT minister, is reportedly being investigated by the EFCC over a 10.2 billion naira fraud. And then we also look at the former Ebonyi State governor, Dr. Sam Ego, who allegedly misappropriated close to 80 billion naira while in office as governor between 1999 and 2007. I'm very sure, gentlemen, you'll be surprised that this is coming up at this time. But these men were at that session. Let's continue. Joshua Dariye, former governor of Plateau State, was arraigned by the EFCC in 2007 on a 23-count charge bordering on money laundering and other corruption charges. The EFCC accused Dariye of diverting about 1.2 billion naira of the state's ecological funds. Yeah. Okay, former governor of Nasarawa State, Abdullahi Adamu, was arrested by the EFCC in 2010 for alleged embezzlement of public funds to the tune of 15 billion naira. And also, Danjuma Goje, former governor of Gombe State, along with 4 others, is facing an 18-count charge bordering on conspiracy and fraud to the tune of 25 billion naira instituted by the EFCC. Olayinka, that's just something to think about. Do you think this man would pass or would consent to or even allow Magu go without being questioned?
I started on this show by saying if Magu is being renominated 100 times, he will not scale through. With these people, you saw them. These ones we allow Magu to take them or to take them to court because they know they can't take it out from Magu. They know the integrity lifestyle of Magu. They know Magu will not compromise. They cannot have Magu as chairman of EFCC.
Before we leave this topic,
having said that, I believe so much in institution, not individual. Now, we are talking about Magu today. If, like you said, EFCC is an institution that is being seen or carved as an integrity institution, we will not be talking about if Magu is not free, then we remove Magu, we put another person, and the person will still do the job. Not someone this wonderful set of Senate can move around, that can dance to their tunes. They can, they can send an errand. It becomes an errand, voice for them. Okay, because before we just put an end to this, before we end this discussion, this very segment, I need to ask you this. Do you think there is a crack in the presidency?
It's obvious.
Someone probably does not want Magu to scale through this order, or the presidency just chose to be silent?
No, it is obvious that the presidency is not in control of this. I don't know. Except we are pretending about it. If 2 agencies that are under the presidency are issuing 2 conflicting reports about a single individual, it shows there is problem somewhere. Are you saying that the DSS is not aware that the presidency set up a committee with the Attorney General of the state to investigate when Magu was first disqualified, to investigate the allegation against Magu. And the presidency now wrote to the Senate. It was on the account of that the president represents Magu for screening. And the DSS gave a contrary opinion that negates whatever the presidency has issued out. Okay. So that is a serious problem.
All right, serious problem you say
the same presidency used the AGF to clear Babashir Lawal, to clear Akari, they clear those people. These people are in this same presidency. There are other people that are in that same presidency that will never want Magu to assume that seat. Okay. So what are we talking about? Okay. That's the reason why I said they are only using Senate. For the fact that Senate also have their canker-ons, but they are only using them.
But don't forget, we have the principle of check and balance. So the Senate has to check them, then the presidency, the excess of the presidency.
And that's why I said earlier that it's like the Supreme Court. If there is error, there is an error in their judgment. It's still the judgment.
It's still the judgment.
It only takes Almighty God to reverse that judgment. That is what is happening in the Senate. Not that the Senate are correct or the majority can be stupid on issues, Majority can be wrong. It doesn't matter. So what is it?
All right, we'll keep our fingers crossed and we'll keep tabs on this very story as it continues to evolve. But we'll go on a short break now. Stand by.
Supreme Courts, if there is an error in their judgment, it's still the judgment.
It's still the judgment.
It only takes Almighty God to
to
reverse
Okay,
that judgment.
okay.
That is what is happening in the Senate.
I think
not that the Senate may are correct or the majority can be stupid on issues. Majority can be wrong. It doesn't matter. So what is it?
All right, we'll keep our fingers crossed and we'll keep tabs on this very story as it continues to evolve. But we'll go on a short break now. Stand by. Point continues in just a moment. Stay with us. All right, we apologize for that little mix-up. Now I am still joined by my guest here, Honorable Muyiwa Jimoh from the Lagos State House of Assembly, and Barrister Olayinka Daniels. Barrister, it's good to have you. Olayinka Ola Daniels. And now we're joined by another lawyer, Barrister Kennedy Osonwa.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. Now, let's quickly move into the next story for this that has really made headlines this week, and that is talking about the customs boss. Now, the Comptroller General of Customs is already facing at times with the Senate, and now they are insisting he must appear before them wearing the uniform again. That is the big story. Since when did uniform become the condition for performance? Because there is a total departure from the real reason why the Senate summoned Mr. It was a colonel, right? Retired Colonel Hamid Ali. The reason for summoning this man to the Senate has been abandoned, and now they're talking about the uniform. They've not even started talking about that big story, which of course is the automobile papers.
Yes, I want to state inter alia that the Comptroller General of Customs is already having a face-off with the House. But having said that, it is important to state here that every office comes with benefits and comes with responsibilities. And the position of the Comptroller General of Customs is like that of the Inspector General of the Police, is like that of the Comptroller General of Immigrations and the Comptroller General of Prisons. And therefore, these are government agencies that are created by statutes. And by the statutes that created them, there is a formal way of dressing, because you can see that custom and exercise, they are officers.
Are you saying that it's documented that there is a particular way they must dress? Well, I need to clear that.
Well, you see,
and you need to tell us where it is documented.
There are rules. There are rules and there are regulations.
Okay.
Okay? You cannot, for you to know a custom officer, is by their uniform. For instance, if you see them on the way and somebody says, I am a custom officer, and then it's not on uniform, then, it's even on presentation of ID card, even with that uniform, it's even doubtful. His own
case is by appointment. Let me just ask, okay, you're sitting close to him. Do you agree with his position? Must the Comptroller General of Customs, Hamid Ali, wear that uniform?
Well, I don't share our learned barrister's view, with due respect to him. The Comptroller General of Customs, this is the first time that such appointment will be made outside
the civil service.
The civil service.
There is a precedent.
So there is no law that says he must be on uniform, and there is no law that says he should be on mufti. But the point that I'm looking at as a parliamentarian is that our Senate has so many issues
to talk about,
from international boundary, the porous, international waterways, and so many other things, than preoccupying themselves with whether the Controller General of Customs is putting on uniform or no uniform. And my argument is this. The rank of Controller General in the civil service is at par with the positions the appointed person, the person in question, has said long ago. It's equivalent to a colonel.
Are you sure of that?
You can make, I'm not absolutely sure, but they are comparison.
No, you can't.
Let me make my point.
Honorable.
I'm coming.
Because I need to also, I'll allow you make your point. But, okay, you disagree with it.
You can check on record.
Are you saying the rank of the retired colonel
of the Nigerian Army?
So I'm aware that some of the custom officers that retires, like Buba, they left the military to customs. You can go and check how they were converted into customs. And
was Buba not wearing uniform?
The Buba was in service.
He was in service. That's a condition, and that's a condition stipulated.
There is no law.
In the
there is no law
that if the Controller General can be picked from, can be redeployed from another civil service.
It's an appointment. It's a political appointment.
Arm of government.
It's a political appointment.
But this case is different from the
and it's not in service.
This case is different, Honorable. This case is different, a little different.
Service. I mean, this is custom and exercise. You cannot say the Controller General is it a political appointment?
Okay, don't let us sideline.
Yes,
gentlemen, don't let us sideline Barrister Daniels because do you share the same sentiment with Mr. Osonwa?
Okay, let's break it down. I'll start by saying, I mean, for the purpose of records and for clarity, this is not the first time we're having someone outside custom being the Controller General. It happened in 1994 during Abacha. It happened under our own Babangida. When Babangida was the president also, it happened under him. Even the late Shehu Musa Yaradua was also a benefactor of that.
But
and they were not in custom services as at the time they were all made Controller General. Now, another question I want to ask.
Just because of the point you just made now, because, and you made reference to when it happened under Abacha and the previous times, some persons who were not who were not members of, who were not staff of the customs were appointed. I should tell you that in 1994, the one that you mentioned, or let's just cite the case of Aliru Mohammed, he was a director in the Federal Civil Service at that time. And if you have read the Act, the Customs Act, the acts establishing that agency of government, you know that it stipulates that you can second. You can only second. So this case, Amit's case, seems to be different. All those ones that you cited were seconded from other ministries. They were civil servants. But Amit Ali's case is no longer in service. In fact, he's retired and he's above 60. But then, the president can still appoint.
Let's get it clearly.
Okay.
Those guys were not, we're not talking about whether they were retired or whether they were in service. We're talking about living where they were to custom. So that is, by the way, on uniform. Yes, Custom and Excise Management Act, Cap 45, 2004. Yes, did not state anything about uniform.
Of course.
You know, whether the Director General, the Controller General, whatever should wear uniform, it was silence on it. But there was another primitive, more like a review act.
Sorry, I'll just cut you in here. I understand we have a caller on the line. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Okay, thanks for joining us on the show.
Yeah, my name is Comrade Mazi Patrick Okoro Crawford, calling from our school.
Okay, let's have your contribution, Comrade.
Yeah, both customs and EFCC. There is nothing wrong as if the two gentlemen are just in the same. There are other people in this country. The government has every right to make a suggestion to bring in order. It's not a must. You may end up.
Okay, thanks for joining us on the show.
Yeah, my name is Comrade Mazi Patrick Okoro Crawford, calling from our school.
Okay, let's have your contribution, Comrade.
Yeah, both customs and EFCC. There is nothing wrong as if the two gentlemen are just in the sense. There are other people in this country. The government has every right to make a suggestion just to bring in order. It's not a must. You may end up bringing to bring the new people to take up all those places. They will be more harder than the present one. So I'm suggesting to the government, make a choice. Because this is of dilly-dally that does not make Nigeria as if we are not serious. Look at what is happening in America. When Trump takes a decision, they go to court, they do it, by the time another thing has been replaced with immediate effect. I don't know why we are still done. Thank you very much. Have a blessed day in Lagos.
Thank you so much, comrade. You just heard his contribution. Now, do you agree with him?
I didn't hear him clearly.
Okay.
Okay.
You want to talk
well,
about that?
not to that. I need to really address that particular uniform issue.
He's more concerned. The caller is a comrade. Is more concerned about the argument itself.
We are still talking about institution. What the man, all he said, the summary of all he said is about institution. He talked about Trump, that if anything goes wrong, the next thing you see him is bringing something else on the table, and he's bringing every time because they have an institution, they have a system, they have a working system, they have an institution working. So anything, immediately they do this, we have to think for another 6 months before we know what to do. That is absolutely wrong. It's unacceptable. It's because we don't have a system, we don't have an institution. That is why we find ourselves where we are, that everything that has to do with us has to do with an individual, and we don't have someone like that. It is sad to have another one. That is what led us to where we are today. Even throughout the election.
The Federal Civil Service is an institution. You agree with me, Barrister Osonwa?
Yes,
he just said that we don't have an institution, but the Federal Civil Service is an institution.
No, don't get
but the
me
president, let me finish up my question. Yes. The president probably felt that there was no just man who could carry out his agenda of wiping out corruption and making the customs service vibrant and better. That was why he appointed someone he could trust, someone who has that credibility.
Yes.
So the institution stands, the man comes as an administrator and as the Controller General.
Well, the president is not to be blamed because of that appointment. But what I'm saying is that so long as the man is insistent, he must conform with the rudiments of the service. That is what I'm saying. If the law says that he should report to a supervising ministry,
there is no law that is saying this, Barrister.
No. So that is the reason why I want us. He didn't let me finish because if he had allowed me to finish, probably we would have resolved this uniform issue.
Management Act.
Don't worry. You'll come back. I'll allow you to finish.
Okay.
Let him make his.
Okay.
You want to clarify that? Let's hear you out.
I started with a cap 45.
45, sure.
Yeah. Now, I said there was something like a repeal law that now gave. Now, don't forget, the Minister of Finance is the chairman of the board.
There is no board yet. No registered board. Should be.
Custom and Legislation is under
Ministry of Finance.
I think we should put this straight. Is there a board? No, I'm asking. It's just a simple question. Is there a board?
An existing law?
Thank you. There's an existing law.
I am not
In the
ruling. I am not ruling that out.
There is.
Anything
There
you
is.
do outside
Let's
is
make it clear.
illegality.
There is.
Ipso facto.
Okay.
There is.
If I understand that the finance minister should be
Not
the
sure.
chairman.
It is.
By law, should be the chairman of the board. But are there other members of the board? Apart from, I know that the CG himself should be the vice chairman of the board.
Yes.
He is automatically a member of the board. But there is no board yet. So this man reports directly to somebody.
No.
So
how come when there was issue?
Who is he reporting to?
Hold on, Barrister. Hold on. When there was
Are you
issue,
saying-
we had
are
information.
you saying-
Who is he reporting to?
Hold on.
How many promotions have you?
Hold on, Barrister. Something happened recently. There was a new development.
Okay.
Mr. Seji took a letter to Vice President for his signature, and when he was acting as the President of Nigeria, what did Mr. Vice President say? Mr. Vice President told him, no, take this letter to who? To the chairman of the board.
Yes,
that's the Minister of Finance. Let the Minister of Finance bring this letter.
It's an illegality.
If there
You must
is
follow
none, there will not be
the
anything
procedure.
like that.
He cannot
There
say
would
because
not be
he's a
anything like
retired
that.
military man, then he cannot follow procedures.
Do you understand?
This is law.
But this one,
And he must abide by the tenets of the
Barrister,
law.
Barrister, this issue you're talking about, reporting to the minister or not reporting to the minister, has not really been addressed, has it? But you people are talking about.
He
the
did
uniform.
go back.
We are busy talking
That
about the
is
uniform.
act of indiscipline because he did not even go back because he has not gone to the minister to even present the letter to the minister for minister to present the letter to the vice to the acting president. Do you understand? So there are a lot of illegality about this because even the board are supposed to determine who wears the uniform. That is where I was going. Yes. The board was to determine who wears the uniform. And if the board, thank you. And if the board has not said anything about who wears the uniform, then he must wear the uniform.
That is correct. He must wear the uniform.
The law is clear.
Because that is the only way we know that
there's a saying. There's a saying that says, if you don't want the tail of a monkey to touch you, don't dance in the dance camp of a monkey.
We can continue to talk about the uniform and leave other issues, critical issues affecting the customs.
Yes.
So now, where do we go from here? If Ahmed Ali refuses to appear on Wednesday, March the 22nd.
He should resign. He should resign.
Let's look at his records. He has achieved so many things.
So can you add something on nothing and expect it to stand?
Are you telling me
he's acting on illegality?
Do you
whatever he has achieved is on illegality? So long as it's not in conformity with
Barrister Osunwa, are you going to agree that this man is a performer? The revenue base of customs has increased since he joined, since he took over.
Now, let me tell you this.
Now, that is performance. Let me tell you. And that is not based on the uniform.
You ask question, you answer.
Yeah, I'm listening to you.
What is this? You are asking me a question, you are answering it. Okay. Are you not defending the controller?
No, I'm just being objective here.
Is he your brother? Nigeria should be your first focus.
Okay.
I also know him. But I will say that what he's doing is right. It's wrong. And if the law has provided for a procedure or for what to be done, that is the essence of the rule of law. Supremacy of the law. Equality of all men before the law. And that is what Ahmed Ali should abide with.
Honorable. You seem to be the only one on the other side of the divide.
I don't care if I'm
a great
minority on
both
issues.
lawyers.
No.
Because it's like a battle between them and myself.
You have also made the point that from records,
yes,
it shows that this man is performing. And for me, as a parliamentarian, I know there are so many pressing issues that are before the Senate. They should preoccupy themselves about those issues. Not instead of preoccupying themselves about who wears what. But so, when it is not categorically stated in the law, if they fail in their own wisdom, they should reveal the act, the custom and exercise acts. They should reveal it. They can repeal it.
You are a lawmaker.
Yeah.
Are you not?
Yes.
So and now what you are encouraging by what you are saying is that the man should continue with impunity. And that's the problem.
I don't know what you mean by
that
impunity.
That is the problem
when
in Nigeria.
When you say impunity, is something, this thing. You have you've made a point. Let somebody else respond. You are not the only one here. And people are listening to our view. You are entitled to your own opinion. Just the way I'm entitled to my own opinion. I'm saying, cite the portion of the laws that says the custom controller general should put on uniform. There's no section. There's no one single section.
Listen to me.
Except Barrister Olayinka wants to help out. You want to cite that section of the Constitution that says you must wear the uniform.
I just made it clear. I told you
but
of the law of the
if the Senate wants it.
SIMA. I told you of SIMA. SIMA was silenced about uniform, and I told you about the primitive law that came later. And they talked about who can decide. The board decide who wear uniform. So they have, So now, if what the angle I'm looking at, if he's saying the board should decide. Then the board has not decided who wears. Since they've not decided who wears, then it should. But having said that, I am not
for the uniform. There are pressing issues. Okay. And the Senate, how come the Senate is not, as in now they have, how many weeks have they spent on this uniform issue? Okay. And we've not even dealt with the issues. Someone came with a policy to say that all cars that, you know, since 19 that came into the country, they should all bring the papers. And nobody has said anything. Now, thank God it was suspended.
Let me buttress your point.
Okay, just quickly, because we're...
Let me buttress your point. Nigerian waterways is the most porous in the world, apart from Somalia. There is crisis of piracy and other civil unrest. The Senate are not debating on that. They are not dying on that.
Let me just take the last word.
I think that the issue of the uniform is not the main reason why the Senate has summoned him. And looking at his antecedent, his antecedent, is he complying with the provisions of the law? Now, that is where I'm going.
All right. I just want your last position on that.
My position is that whatever and in any capacity you are acting upon, you must act in consonance with the provisions of the law.
Are you going to agree with him on that, or is that your position too?
I will agree, but I will add this to it. I will repeat that saying that says, if you don't want the tail of monkeys to touch you, don't go to the dance floor of monkeys. And also, Senate should do the needful. They should work and do things that are necessary and not uniform issues.
All right, let me take the Honorable's opinion.
My own opinion on it. There are so many pressing issues in our country. The Senate should preoccupy themselves with that, and they should learn how to live with Nigeria.
Brothers.
They should learn how to live with Nigeria,
rather
than to simply to occupy Nigeria.
All right,
and we must be patriots. See, because a lot of people, they are doing things with, me, my brother. We are not patriots in this country. We consider ourselves before we consider the nation.
Thank you very much.
And that is sad.
And the nation must come first.
Thank you very much.
I agree with you. The nation must come first.
That's the show today. I really want to thank you for being a part of it, Barrister Ken Osoa. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much.
Honorable Muyiwa Jimoh, the Deputy Majority Leader of the Lagos State House of Assembly. We really thank you for joining us on this session. And also, Barrister Olayinka Oladaniels. I got it right this time around. Thank you very much for being a part of it. I hope we've been able to take a particular standpoint on some of the issues that we discussed today. Also, we thank you so much for being a part of the show. We only hope for the best, and we'll continue to wish the best for Nigeria. Until we come again next week, thank you so much for joining us. I am Adetunji Adeteye. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.